At my brother's wedding, the best man, who was also my ex-wife's lover, pointed at me and laughed into the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, meet my divorced brother and his penniless daughter. Any takers for a date?" The crowd roared with laughter, and my father chimed in, "Shall we start the bidding at $50? As my daughter's tears began to fall, I reached into my pocket. Then someone in the audience slowly rose to their feet. Chapter 1. The invitation I nearly tossed I had no desire to attend. The cream-colored envelope, adorned with elegant gold lettering, sat untouched on my counter for weeks. It carried the faint scent of costly cologne and arrogance, much like my brother, Ethan. "Mr. and Miss Carter are cordially invited to celebrate the union of Ethan Carter and Sophia Lane," it announced when I finally opened it. No warm note, no personal touch, just cold formality. It felt less like an invitation and more like a subtle jab. "You're no longer part of this family, but here's a seat in the shadows to remind you." Yet I went. For my daughter, Lily. She was 11, too young to grasp the web of deceit, the family politics, or the veiled insults masquerading as humor. But she knew she had cousins, an uncle, a grandfather, and a mother who'd abandoned us both, only to end up with my brother's best man, Ryan. Their affair my entire family knew before I did. But today wasn't about me or them. Lily wore her favorite blue dress, her hair in soft curls, clutching a small gift she'd insisted on bringing. "For Uncle Ethan," she said with a sweet smile, so we went. We entered the venue together, her face glowing, mine carefully composed. I told myself we'd sit quietly, eat, offer congratulations, and slip away. But I should have known. People like Ethan don't just want victory. They want to crush you in the process. Chapter 2. The speech that set everything ablaze. The venue was opulent. Marble columns, exotic lilies, chandeliers casting a glow that masked the coldness of the people within. Lily squeezed my hand as we stepped into the reception hall. Every glance our way felt like a smirk, not a welcome. Whispers trailed us like ghosts. I spotted my parents near the main table. My mother's expression hardened when she saw me, as if I were an unwelcome detail in their perfect story. My father didn't even acknowledge me, turning instead to top off his wine glass. We were placed at table 19, tucked away near the exit, seated beside a distant aunt and a vendor Ethan had clearly stiffed. But Lily didn't care. She was enchanted by the towering cake, the vibrant flowers, and the violinist weaving soft melodies in the background. Her joy was all that mattered to me. Then came the moment that changed everything. The lights dimmed, glasses clinked, and a spotlight fell on the head table. Ryan, the best man and the man who stole my wife, stood with a smug grin, microphone in hand. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice dripping with arrogance or perhaps too much wine. "I've known Ethan forever and I've seen him dominate in every way. But today he's done the unthinkable. He got married and signed a prenup." Laughter filled the room. He paused, then continued. "And speaking of surprises, look who decided to show up." The microphone swung toward our table. The spotlight followed. "Everyone, say hello to my divorced brother and his broke little girl. Anyone want to date him? He's on sale." The room exploded in cruel, cutting laughter. Then my father raised his glass and added with a chuckle, "Let's start the bidding at $50, shall we?" That's when I heard it, the sound that broke my heart. Lily was crying, her head bowed, cheeks flushed, small hands shaking in her lap. I reached for her, but then I stopped. Instead, I slipped my hand into my jacket pocket. This was no longer just a wedding, it was a battlefield. And someone in the crowd was standing. Chapter 3. The guest they never saw coming the room fell silent as the figure rose. At first, no one recognized him, dressed in a sleek gray suit, no tie, his presence commanding. But as he stepped forward, the silence grew heavier. It was Mr. Victor Hayes, CEO of Hayes Innovations, a titan in the corporate world whose name alone could sway industries, and my mentor, investor, and friend. Ethan's grin faltered. My father's glass froze midair. Mr. Hayes didn't look at them. His eyes found Lily, who was still wiping tears with trembling fingers. He approached her gently. "Miss Lily," he said softly, offering her a handkerchief. "Anyone who dares mock your father like this has no clue who they're up against." He turned to the crowd, taking the microphone from the stunned host. "Good evening," he said. "I hadn't planned to speak, but now seems the perfect time to discuss something far more important than overpriced vows and underseasoned food." A few nervous chuckles broke the tension. He continued. "For those unaware, this man," he pointed at me, "is the reason Hayes Innovations' renewable energy division exists. While his family ridiculed him, he was quietly building a future that now powers over 500,000 homes." Gasps rippled through the room. A fork clattered to the floor. More than that, he added, turning slightly. He's a man who raises his daughter with honor, not wealth, with integrity, not cash. While you mocked him, he became a key player in one of the largest tech acquisitions in state history. He pulled an envelope from his coat, revealing a contract bearing our signatures and the Hayes Innovation seal. I didn't need to speak. Mr. Hayes was speaking for me. This man, he said, holding the contract aloft, is now worth more than everyone in this room combined, yet he still showed up, still smiled, still kept his daughter steady, until your cruel spectacle tried to break her spirit. He paused, letting the truth settle. I won't stay for the cake. He handed the microphone back and placed a firm hand on my shoulder. It's time, I nodded. As I moved toward the stage, my father stood, flustered. Ethan's bride whispered frantically to her mother. Ryan looked like he'd seen a ghost. I took a deep breath and opened the small velvet box I'd brought. Inside was a USB drive. I plugged it into the projector behind the DJ booth and said calmly into the microphone, "Let's see the real presentation, shall we?" Chapter 4. The USB drive that shattered their facade the projector hummed to life. The screen behind the newlyweds, still frozen in awkward grins, flickered. The first image appeared, a photo, not of me or Lily, but of Ryan, shirtless, tangled in sheets with my ex-wife. Their faces unmistakable, time-stamped, and geotagged across multiple dates and cities. The crowd gasped, but that was just the start. Slide 2, Ryan entering a hotel room, my ex-wife already inside, dressed in lingerie. Slide 3, a screenshot of their text exchange. Ryan, don't worry, he still thinks we're just pals. The fool even asked me to be his best man. Slide 4, a paternity test confirming Lily was my biological daughter, debunking the rumors they'd spread about her parentage. The slideshow pressed on. A voice recording played next, amplified for all to hear, Ryan and my ex-wife laughing drunkenly. Ryan, he'll sit at the back of the wedding like a pathetic nobody. He doesn't even know his family's done with him. My ex-wife, let him watch from the sidelines where he belongs. He'll probably cry and my sister will catch it on video. The room buzzed with outrage, whispers, gasps, phones recording. My father tried to unplug the system, but Mr. Hayes stepped in his path. I wouldn't, he said coldly. Touch that and I'll pull funding from your son's investment firm. Trust me, I can. Ethan, now sweating through his suit, shouted, "Turn it off!" But I wasn't finished. The next slide revealed emails between Ethan and my ex-wife, plotting to manipulate me into signing over our late mother's lakeside cabin. Make him feel worthless, one email read. Humiliate him at my wedding if needed. He'll cave. He always does. Slide after slide exposed their deceit, their malice, their greed. My ex-mother-in-law collapsed dramatically. Lily gripped my hand, now standing tall beside me. The final slide appeared, a photo of me and Mr. Hayes on the balcony of my new high-rise apartment. The caption read, "You thought I was finished. I was rebuilding. Now I'm free, and you're all exposed." Chapter 5, the fallout and the exit asterisk. A heavy silence settled over the ballroom, not calm, but the kind that follows a storm. Guests shifted uncomfortably in their finery, unsure where to look, at me, at Lily, or at the humiliated faces of Ethan and Ryan. Lily leaned in and whispered, "Daddy, can we leave now?" I smiled softly. "Not yet, sweetheart. You deserve to see what dignity looks like." I stepped toward the stage where Ethan stood, jaw clenched, trying to salvage his crumbling world. To the guests, I said into the microphone, my voice steady and resolute, "I'm sorry for disrupting the evening, but after being mocked, belittled, and slandered in front of my daughter, I thought the truth deserved a moment in the spotlight." I turned to Ethan. "You once said I preferred staying out of the spotlight. That's true, I stayed quiet while you stole from me, slept with my wife, mocked me behind my back, and tried to break my daughter's spirit. But no more." I gestured to Mr. Hayes, who gave a subtle nod. "I sold my tech company last year," I continued. "Not that any of you cared to ask how I was. I'm not broke, I'm retired. The lakeside cabin, secured in a trust for my daughter, my ex-wife. Facing a defamation lawsuit, and that recording you heard, it's evidence in court." Ryan opened his mouth, perhaps to protest, but I raised a finger. "I wouldn't. This microphone records," the crowd murmured. Some guests slipped out quietly, ashamed of their part in the cruelty. A few offered apologies as they passed. I turned to my father. "You laughed. You put a $50 price on me and my daughter. You of all people should have known better." I stayed quiet, but I never stopped observing. "Now everyone sees who you really are." He tried to brush it off as a jest. "Come on, son, it was just—" "Don't call me son," I said firmly. "From today, you're no longer my family. None of you are." I took Lily's hand. "Let's go." We walked down the center aisle, past murmurs and averted gazes. Just before the doors, I turned back. "Oh, Ethan," I called out. "You might want to have a word with your bride. She deserves to know about the other woman you've been seeing." His face went pale. His bride's expression shifted from confusion to horror, and with that we left. Chapter 6. The final strike asterisk 3 months later, autumn painted the trees in hues of amber and crimson. Lily and I had settled into our serene lakeside home, far from the city's chaos. She was happier now, safe, healing. But the wedding's fallout lingered. It began with a headline: CEO embroiled in scandal, wedding audio leak triggers investor backlash. The microphone had been recording, and a friend on the event staff had shared the confrontation online. The video went viral. Millions saw Lily's tears, heard the insults, the laughter, and the silence that followed as I dismantled their lies with precision. My father's company crumbled. Investors pulled out, PR firms severed ties, and lawsuits piled up. The board forced his resignation within weeks. Ethan tried to disappear, but when his affairs came to light, his wife filed for divorce, citing fraud and emotional distress. She took half his assets and left for Europe. Ryan? Fired. His employer didn't appreciate the association with someone who mocked a child. It didn't help that he'd been siphoning company funds, leading to criminal charges. My ex-wife tried to make amends, voicemails, letters, even a visit to my office. Security turned her away. When the courts awarded me full custody, she broke down in the courthouse hallway, screaming, "You've destroyed me!" I didn't reply. I just held Lily's hand and walked away. Weeks later, I received an email from a prominent speaker agency. "We saw the video. Your story of resilience, quiet strength, and standing up for what's right needs to be shared. Would you speak at our annual leadership conference?" I showed it to Lily. She grinned and said, "Do it, Dad. You helped me be brave. Now help others." So I agreed. Epilogue asterisk at the conference, I stood before hundreds of executives and leaders worldwide. Behind me, a screen displayed a photo, not of the wedding or the drama, but of me and Lily on a quiet pier, fishing rods in hand, peace in our expressions. "My story," I began, "isn't about vengeance. It's about self-worth, about what happens when we stop letting others define us and start shaping our own path." The audience rose in applause. As I stepped off the stage, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. I hadn't just walked out of a wedding that day. I had walked into the life I was destined to live. Was this justice well-deserved? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you believe this story resonates, like it, share it with someone who needs this inspiration, and follow Lena's Tales for more gripping stories of betrayal and redemption. Because here, every deception meets its reckoning, and every betrayal casts a shadow. Stay bold, stay resilient, and stay tuned.